Hello, welcome to Brain Talk Tuesday. If you're joining live or recorded or YouTube or my website, just go ahead and say hello if there's a chat box and tell me where you're joining from. And tell me what brought you to this video. Would love to hear kind of what's going on with you, maybe some of the questions you have or some of the things going on. My name is Danielle Daniel, and I'm a licensed clinical social worker and Doctor of Clinical Psychology student. And I do every single Tuesday about 20 minutes, a little brain talk. And sometimes it's on mindset, sometimes it's on essential oils in the brain, which is what we're doing right now. And sometimes it's on different things that I study in my doctorate, like theta brain waves and things like that. So I have lots of fun sharing with you things that can help you for the brain. I really feel like this is my mission and my passion, to help people understand how their brain works and how to optimize and use what nature has out there to really have a better wellness in our mindset as well as our life. Such a better quality of life when we can understand this. So when you join, please say hello. Would love to see who's on. I'm going to get started today. Now, if you haven't already joined my psychoaromatherapy training, you can do so on my website, danielledr.com. And the psychoaromatherapy training is really I've got actually a bonus week, so 5 weeks in there of just content on essential oils in the brain. Some of it, I break it down into essential oils, and then one's into the brain, and then one's about applying them into, different categories, different, supports that you need, different mental health supports. So as you go on my website, you'll be able to find that link for joining the psychoaromatherapy, and there's also some free downloads there so you can stay connected. So hello and welcome everybody for joining. So I'm going to get started on our subject today. So welcome, we're going to talk about post-combat wellness. And this is something that I've put together. Now, I like to deliver research and evidence-based information. Now with post-combat wellness, there's not exact information on like a group of military vets, for example, that research has been done on with the oils. At this point, I haven't been able to find much, but what I do is break it down by emotions or feelings and things that they deal with if you've been exposed to a trauma. Okay, so that's why I call it post-combat wellness, some type of trauma. And usually post-combat wellness is when someone's been exposed to a perceived life-threatening type situation. Now, it doesn't always have to be. You can still get some of those types of symptoms, like the fear, the anxious emotions, nightmares, things like that. And I will tell you, when I was 5 years old, I watched Jaws, and I had no idea how to conceptualize such a scary movie. And it was very, very difficult. I ended up having nightmares till I was 12 years old about sharks. And I had fear and anxiousness come up when I would get in the bathtub. Like, it plagued me. So again, it's not as dramatic. I mean, for a 5-year-old it is, but it's not as dramatic for what's happened in a life-threatening situation, but you can still have some of those same emotions that we're going to talk about today. So I've broken the research down, just a few articles that I'm going to share in 20 minutes anyway today, on what you can do to really manage the symptoms individually. Because it's not a, one just category, here's one medication or here's one oil. It's not like that. It's very different. You want to break it down into what's going on and what you want to improve. What are the health goals? So I've got my notes here. And so like I talked about, with post-combat wellness, there's a myriad of emotions that result. We look at a lot of anger, right? Moodiness, irritability, impatient, distracted, annoyed, enraged. Sometimes they cause people to be more introverted and just shut out the entire world. Many times they'll also result in self-medication with drugs and alcohol, and while that doesn't solve the problem at all, it actually causes more damage on the brain. It causes a numbness for the perceived threat that they're dealing with in the mind. So there are ways you can naturally help, and those are including counseling. I highly recommend finding some type of theta therapy. That's like a hypnotherapy, but like with an actual hypnotherapist that's trained and certified. That's really helpful, as well as some of the essential oils that I'm going to give you. So when you're looking at it, like I said, you're going to look at it managing the emotions from the trauma. And we're going to break it down. And what I want you to know when you're working with somebody who has dealing with post-combat wellness, and there's, there are a myriad of things going on, break it down to maybe the top 3 concerns. Is the emotion anxiousness? Is the emotion fear? Is the emotion that's, maybe the top is, what was one of the other ones I had? I think I said anxious, stress, or nightmares, or just kind of break it down. Oh, enraged, that's what I was going to say. Like a strong anger that comes. So instead of like looking at the entire thing all at the same time, break it down. Start with the top 3 when you're looking at oils, and start with those 3 emotions and just work on those 3 at one time. And if 3 is too much, you can do 1. But I think 3 is a pretty good number that you can manage. And once you feel that yourself or your client or whoever has a grasp on those 3 emotions with the oils that they're used to, you can add another one. And then you can add another one. So that's what I would recommend, because post-combat wellness has a bunch of different components to it. So let's talk about some research. I found some pretty fun stuff. Beta-carotene. Who knows what beta-carotene is? I'm going to grab the research article here. Beta-carotene is very high, it's BCP, very high in copaiba essential oil. It interacts with your cannabinoid receptor number 2, okay? Number 1, psychoactive. We don't want to interact with that one. It's number 2. And what the research is showing here, I've got a research article on it. I'm going to kind of read to you some of the stuff that it talks about. So first of all, it found that when they use beta-carotene, and this is on mice, it increased their sleep time. So it helped with just a better overall sleep. And then it also had an underlying, it said, I liked that, it's like an underlying, they weren't even studying it for this, and they noticed that it had this anxiolytic, so a calm those anxious emotions, had an effect on anxious emotions, and even without altering motor performance. So I thought that was pretty cool. So it can cause a calming to your body, and you could be using it and driving. It won't alter your motor performance, for example. So that's one research article. This was done in the Journal of Neuropsychopharmacology. It was done in Brazil. So kind of a fun one. So beta-carotene, which is going to be copaiba. So put that on your list for anything to calm anxious emotions and improve sleep. So these are 2 things, major things, that people with post-combat wellness deal with. Okay, the next one, and this study I thought was interesting. It studied linalool, and so that's what researchers do, is they're really looking to break down the components inside of essential oils. And who knows what linalool comes from? It comes from actually quite a few oils, but it's really high in one particular, which is lavender. And what I like about this research article, again, this was done in the Journal of Human Psychopharmacology, and what I liked about it is they were really breaking down linalool, but they compared it with lavender as a whole and found that lavender as a whole just had so many more benefits than just breaking down linalool. And you really can't patent, or you can't take like lavender as a whole, you just have to use lavender. So I know, pharmaceuticals, they like to find the components, but this was really cool that it showed linalool had some great effects, but lavender as a whole. So this is a double-blind, randomized, placebo-controlled trial, and they did oral administration of the essential oil of lavender, and they put it in capsules. And so I'm just going to kind of go through. They measured the heart rate, electrodermal skin response, as well as cardiovascular, other cardiovascular measures. So let me find my notes on it. I think I wrote them down here. Let's see. It showed that it says revealed a significantly greater decrease in the anxious emotions after being exposed to anxiety with the dose of lavender in the capsules. So I'm just kind of paraphrasing some of it. It's got all the numbers and stuff. It also had effect on the dose on the heart rate, and it significantly decreased cardiovascular response. So that's That's a wonderful thing for some type of emotion of, well, anxiousness, obviously, but also enraged. If you just feel this heightened irritability and rage, you can see how lavender will calm the entire central nervous system. So this can be taken internally. You could also diffuse it, keep it in your car with a car diffuser, different things you can do with the lavender. Let's see, there's another thing I wanted to read on here. This study was phenomenal, actually. It said, let me find it so I can read it to you and not just paraphrase. Okay. What I liked about this study is it showed that lavender, it had an effect on different neurotransmitter systems, including the glutamatergic system, which is the glutamic acid is your primary neurotransmitter, like one of the excitatory ones, right? And so what it showed is it had an interaction with glutamic acid to calm the central nervous system. And then this is what I love. It showed that it also had its components, so lavender as a whole, not just linalool, had an effect on the secondary messenger systems in the brain. So this is your potassium channels, your sodium and calcium channels, your nitric oxide pathways. So what are these, right? You're like, oh, that sounds so cool, but what is it? Really, what these things do is they are inside the brain. They help all the messages flow. Your body will not produce serotonin without these sodium and potassium channels in the brain and the heart. The heart pumps with these exact same chemicals in the body too. So I thought that was really cool that lavender in this study showed it had an effect on all these different channels and pathways in the brain rather than just a neurotransmitter and rather than just like this emotion like, oh, it's just going to calm me. Well, you can see it calms you with a very direct effect in the pathways in the brain. So really cool. So lavender is going to be another highly desired one to use for those emotions such as anxiousness, enrage, irritability, anything that's going to bring like a heightened, elevated response in the body. Okay, 2 more oils that I'm just going to cite real quickly on some research. Clary sage. It showed it reduced corticosterone levels. What are corticosterone levels? What do those do? So corticosteroids are released from your adrenals when you're stressed. And when you're stressed, what happens in the brain? You stop thinking clearly. It starts to shut off frontal lobe thinking. And what happens with post-combat wellness? When you are in a fear or anxious response, what part of your brain is working? It is your fight or flight part of the brain, right? Right here in the back of the brainstem, not the front of your brain, which is your frontal lobe, which is where you do your executive functioning, thinking, organizing, behavior, impulse controls all up here. So you're on fight or flight. And that is what's really cool about the clary sage is it can interact with corticosteroid levels to calm them down so they don't block and stop your body from using your brain and this part of the brain. So clary sage. Another one, the last one I'm going to just talk about, there's a ton of oils I'm going to go through, there's a ton of oils on my handout, but we're just going to go through these today. So cedarwood essential oil, and it showed it reduced motor activity and increased sleep. So I think those are really huge ones. So reducing motor activity, again, just that heightened maybe anger response, maybe jitters, some of those reactions that your body, involuntary reactions your body might have, cedarwood is a good one. Now, and then for increasing sleep. And sleep, we know disrupted sleep is a huge symptom in post-combat wellness. So there's a couple oils. I'm going to give you a little a sleep blend as well. So let me go into some of my section here. So on the handouts, Essential Oils in the Brain, they have a section called Post-Combat Wellness. Now this section has a whole bunch of oils. Now I got these oils from, like I said, piecing together the symptoms, what people deal with, the emotions people deal with post-combat wellness, as well as I actually had several vets that I asked, What are you using and how is it helping you? Because just because it's not research, it doesn't mean there's not value there. So this was a really good insight that I was able to speak with a whole bunch of different vets and get what they're using. So on this section, post-combat wellness, you'll see there's multiple different oils, and these are ones either from the emotions that I studied or from people that have used them. A couple of things, juniper berry. Almost every single vet that I talked to said they used juniper berry. And it's interesting, there's not a lot of research done on how this helps, but they said they used it for mourning, like grief and mourning, and interruptive memories. So that was really cool. So you could just get that juniper berry and apply it at pulse points or inhale it. Another one that was highly quoted that is not necessarily in research was cardamom essential oil. And they use this for frustration or rage. So I thought that was really cool. You can put it on your occipital point on the back of the neck. And then I came up with a Peaceful Dreams blend because we know sometimes sleep is disrupted with post-combat wellness. So Peaceful Dreams blend I've put together is copaiba, lavender, cedarwood, and chamomile. You could put that in a diffuser, or you could put it in a little roller bottle and just roll it on at night and use that to really help calm the brain and those pathways for sleep. So I would highly recommend, and if someone if ever uses this, and or actually a lot of people are going to end up using this, but please message me, let me know how it goes, for I love to hear the feedback when you try these blends that I've put together from research. It really helps to understand the validity, and your experiences are invaluable. So the last thing I'm going to give you is a post-combat wellness blend, and this post-combat wellness blend has quite a few different oils in it, and it's on here. But it's the one that the most of the vets used. So I put together a blend that most of the vets are using. So in a 10 milliliter roller bottle, you can combine 4 drops of patchouli, 4 drops of cardamom, 6 drops of frankincense, 6 drops of juniper berry, 6 drops of vetiver, and 4 drops of petitgrain, and fill the rest with fractionated coconut oil. So if you didn't get all those, you can either get the handouts and from aromatools.com, or go ahead and rewind this video and listen to that. But that's a post-combat wellness blend of the oils that were the most quoted from vets that they were using. So you're going to see that there's 2 more oils I'm going to recommend. And I've given you some specific research, but what I love is that if you have the emotional aromatherapy blend, right, it has some oils that have some pretty good blends that were already researched for different emotions. So one of my favorites is going to be Peace. It's going to be one of the easiest ones you can use for post-combat wellness. And what I recommend is you just roll it right here on pulse points on the neck. It's already got a lot of those oils I quoted. And just give this a try. Just give that a try to start with, and start noticing the little differences in how you respond. And sometimes the differences might be real slight, but notice that it's a difference and that your body's adjusting, and that's really cool. So it's got vetiver, lavender, ylang ylang, frankincense, clary sage, marjoram, which is a calmant as well, and spearmint, which helps you focus. So this is a great blend. Can you see how it causes peace, not sleep, but just to calm enraged emotions? So highly recommend that. And then lastly, I would say Console. And there's others in that emotional aromatherapy blend, but I'm just giving you a couple to start with. So Console, and this is a really good blend, again, for post-combat wellness, especially if you're dealing with grief and loss. But it's got in here frankincense, as you can see, so good for the brain. Ylang ylang, again, across the board on studies, frankincense and ylang ylang are 2 that I see for all sorts of emotions. And let's see, what else is in here? Sandalwood, another good one for calming and just kind of grounding yourself. And osmanthus. I was like trying to read, and rose. It has like the Latin term, so I'm trying to find the English term and not the Latin term. So rose and osmanthus. Great. Those are flower blends, or flowers, I mean, in that blend. So you are going to love the emotional aromatherapy, and then obviously play around with the lavender, the cedarwood, and the copaiba, either in a diffuser, in a blend, or use them individually to really calm those different emotions that are going on with post-combat wellness. All right, well, thank you for joining me, everyone, on this video about post-combat wellness. We'll see you next time. Bye.